Hello out there and welcome to Public Conscience. This is the anti-corruption program produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMORG. PRIMORG is a civil society organization with a mandate to promote good governance, participation, and accountability in Nigeria. I am Adaobi Obiabumo with Chidozie Obunaya.
Welcome to the program.
On Public Conscience, we seek to evolve a corruption-free society through the amplification of corruption stories reported by our partner media organizations and drawing citizens and government attention to democratic actions against it. We also promote integrity by focusing on the rare cases of the display of honesty by public and private individuals in the course of their normal activities. The MacArthur Foundation supports the production of this program.
Today we will be beaming the searchlight on audits in the public sector and the challenges limiting the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation from playing a more effective role in the fight against corruption in Nigeria.
An audit is an independent examination of financial information of an entity, whether profit-oriented or not, irrespective of its size or legal form, when such an examination is conducted to express an opinion thereon. And in Nigeria's case, the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation is mandated by law to audit the nation's accounts in the most professional and transparent manner. It is also to ensure the government gets value for money in financial activities for the benefit of the Nigerian people.
But sadly, over the years, performing the responsibility of the Audit Office of the federal government has continued to be faced with numerous challenges, leaving much to be desired. Some of the challenges include the lack of finance and administrative autonomy and agencies, and most importantly, the non-passage of the Federal Audit Reform Bill despite much push.
Today's program seems to emphasize the need for the strengthening of the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation to play a bigger role in promoting transparency and accountability in the public sector, as several bottlenecks rocking the Office of the Auditor General continue to hinder it from reducing corruption in public governance. And as a citizen, you should be bothered just as we are. Do you know that in 2021, Auditor General indicted government agencies, including the National Assembly, of financial impropriety to the tune of 105.66 billion naira? Trust me, these financial leakages can go far in solving some of the numerous masses' needs. What do you think has hindered us as a nation from taking serious actions against government agencies indicted by the Auditor General's reports over the years? And how can the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation be strengthened for the better fight against corruption?
Be ready to join us through phone and text messages in the course of the conversation. The WhatsApp phone line to send your message is 09022656167, and that is 09022656167. Please indicate your name and your location when sending your message. This is for messages only.
And remember that you can also send us messages to 0902-265-6167. That is 0902-265-6167. We will give out the numbers to call shortly.
So let me quickly remind you that we've been talking about challenges limiting the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation from delivering its mandate, and the need for us to strengthen the audit office in Nigeria.
Budget and procurement frauds are major means of revenue leakage in government agencies. And according to the Chartered Institute for Forensic and Investigative Professionals of Nigeria, 70% of Nigeria's national budget is lost to corrupt practices at all levels of governance.
And joining us in the studio to expand this conversation is the executive editor, Forefront Magazine and online, Cobhans Nsa. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
And also, we are also being joined by Fidelis Onyejebu, Program Manager, Public Finance Management, Center for Social Justice, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us, Fidelis.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we'll start off today's conversation with Fidelis. Could you help us understand the workings of public audit in an ideal situation against the kind of auditing we run in Nigeria?
Thank you for that question. The role of public sector auditing in the public financial management cannot be overemphasized rather, because it is the last chain in the public financial management system, and so you would not have expended public resources effectively as it is if public sector auditing had not taken place, and so it's a veritable process. You cannot do without it, because it ensures that what it looks at how resources have been expended. Resources expended for what we are appropriated for, and even at that, there are other aspects of it: process audit, performance audit, and other aspects of it. So essentially, looking at the books, monies expended for what they are meant for. If there are questions to be raised, what can be done, and that's where the Auditor General's report comes handy, because every questions that are raised, they are termed queries. They are, of course, sent to appropriate functionaries at the various ministries, departments, and agencies that are concerned. And those persons who have duties to perform are mandated by law to perform a public duty. And that's when people do not respond to him on time before he compiles his report, those entries, those infractions becomes entries in that particular year's annual audit report. So that's in a nutshell how it is.
So in this situation, we are running the way we should run.
It depends on what you mean, but
if we try to just propose what we have out there, at least we do some comparative analysis of what you have on the in other places, on other climes.
We understand that
what
in
we
our
have
country here.
Okay.
Last year's audit report is not yet out.
Right.
What we have is 2019 Auditor General's report.
Right.
Meanwhile, we're supposed to have this report yearly.
Right. Okay. So there is what they call public gift practices, global best practices. And so this practice allows a number of gaps. So you are looking at an audit report for a particular year, at least at the best practice being available in and around 18 months after every year, right? Going by our constitution, after every financial year, the Auditor General has 90 days from when he receives the financial statements, consolidated financial statement from the Accountant General. He has 90 days to do his own function. But there is a lacuna. The law does not mandate the Accountant General within a timeline to supply the Auditor General those source documents with which he is to work with. So he's going to wait until the Accountant General supplies him those source documents.
So Accountant General can decide to stay for...
Well, I wouldn't put it that way, but I'm just pointing out there is a lacuna that needs to be plugged.
Okay. So that is where the genesis of the delay starts.
If you want to look at it that way, yes, but we also need to put all of that in perspective. When are those reports published, and how can we improve on what we have? Because I made mention earlier about what the best practices are. There is an index that is constructed globally called OBI, Open Budget Index. This is being carried out by international budget partnerships, and so Nigeria has improved on the basis of other documents that should be published. For example, quarterly budget implementation reports and audit reports. Although we have some room for improvement on that index, but by and large, in most of the things that need to be published, Nigeria is doing very well there. But when we come to where we are now, which is audit, that is where lots and lots of improvements need to happen, because just as you stated it before you channeled the first question to me, we don't have a veritable audit law to govern the process.
All right, it is a good point and a good place to bring in Mr. Cobham's answer into the conversation, because over the years, countless reports by Auditor General have indicted hundreds of government agencies, we said it earlier, with government not taking stringent measures against financial misappropriation that we are reported. So, Mr. Cobhams, how has this affected Nigeria's fight against corruption?
Well, given the background that you've just heard from my colleague, I think it is obvious and quite clear that Nigeria and Nigerians have really suffered from this issue of lack of implementation of the Auditor General's report. But you have to look at it in the context of the system we are operating. The Auditor General is appointed by someone, and he reports not directly to the person but to the parliament. There is a constitutional issue, there is a legal issue, there are political issues around it. If the man submits the report, like the 2021 audit queries that indicted the National Assembly, you are submitting the report to the National Assembly because, given the partial autonomy, the report is supposed to go to the National Assembly, not to the presidency. But these are the people you have indicted, and you think they're going to work on that report? That is a handicap. They would not be happy to work on a report that has indicted them. So, it is obvious that the report will not be acted upon as it should be. The issue of, which is also very, very disturbing, is the political issue. Who is involved? Which party is he? Is he the man who is involved? Is he ones who sponsor the political party in power, the ruling party? So these are gaps that we need to address, and it can only be addressed by the law, the audit law, which they have, because I want to put it directly, the fact that they have refused it to be functional, or they refuse to make it pass into law because they know that they will be affected.
Does the political party in power have anything to do with the functions of the Auditor General?
In Nigeria, yes.
How?
The man is appointed by the president, and is there any security of tenure for him? We mount it, but we know that he can be removed without recourse to the National Assembly, and nothing will happen. The Central Bank of Nigeria, it happened to the CBN governor. He was removed, even though the Central Bank Act says that should not happen. But he was removed, and they didn't say he was removed. They used the normal Nigerian term that he was suspended. So
you're saying that presidential powers is taking a huge toll on the independence of the Auditor General's office?
Yes, there must be. That is, to me, I believe that the appointment to that office should be thrown open. People should apply for it, and then an interview panel created to interview them, rather than having somebody to appoint someone consciously. The man who appointed you owe allegiance to him. Even, not consciously, subconsciously, you want to owe allegiance to the person who appointed you.
You mentioned tenure in your earlier submission. Does it mean that the fact that the Auditor General's office is not tenured?
No, it's tenured. It's tenured.
How many years?
It's 5 years.
5 years?
Yes. That's on paper. It's 5 years.
On paper?
But
in
paper.
Practice?
They can decide to remove him, if they can decide to suspend him.
If it is in the Constitution, because I understand that Section 87 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, has actually dealt with the tenure of the office of the Auditor General, then why then would he be removed?
That is the politics in it.
So political influence and political will is playing a lot of role, and inadvertently this is also affecting us in the fight against corruption, because this man churns out reports of MDAs misappropriating fund and nothing is done.
Who are in those MDAs? They are political party sponsors, people who are given a political appointment. The minister is a political appointee. He maybe in one way or the other he has financed the party into power. The man who is in the MDAs is also maybe a backer of a party. So who are you indicting? Indicting them means you are indicting the party. So it's complicated.
So politics complicating these issues and our fight against corruption, and more especially this is we are talking about transparency in government settings. That is what audit tends to expose and project: transparency and accountability. And maybe we should bring in Fidelis to tell us more, because as we are talking about this, we cannot run away or shy away from the audit law. The audit law, the bill was pushed during Obasanjo's time. It didn't fly. It also came back when President Muhammadu Buhari assumed office, and he didn't sign it.
As of today, we still do not have
And as of
that.
today, I don't know where
We're
that
still
bill
working
is.
with it.
Was it resubmitted in this night assembly?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Lots and lots of emotions when we discuss the issue of public sector auditing in Nigeria. We have come thus far, but so far not so good. I said that because it's actually 3 instances that the push for a new audit law has been made, and on those 3 occasions, they've not been successful. Personally, I will give kudos to some stakeholders, the civil society, the organized labor, the professional bodies. They have done their bit. The National Assembly have also done their bit by approving those bills.
You mean the night nurse?
I'm not talking of any particular National Assembly. I'm talking of National Assembly across the years.
Yes, okay.
So talking of the first one that happened under President Obasanjo's administration, it came through every process. It was just at the desk of the president that something happened and he didn't assent to it. Then another push was during President Goodluck Jonathan's administration. Same old. He came to his desk and didn't receive assent. On those 2 instances, there were like feedbacks. Write a letter, because the law says if you're not assenting to a bill,
tell us why you
write and send back. But in the instance of President Buhari, there was no letter to say yes or no, and so people are left second guessing what the situation is. But on paper, by law, any bill starts and ends with the National Assembly that initiated it.
Yes.
So legally, that bill, the 2018 audit, what's the technical name it has now? Audit bill. Let's just put it that way. The 2018 audit bill, as it is, if we want to look at it critically, it shouldn't stand again, because the National Assembly that initiated it have dismissed, and we have a 9th Assembly. We also understood that the 9th Assembly, I had some government functionaries, when people started crying wolf that the president didn't say yes or no, we heard that the bill was going to be put on the floor of National Assembly anew.
Reintroduced, yes.
We were waiting till today, nothing has happened. So apart from a private member of the National Assembly that reintroduced the bill in late 2019, and it has been on just past first reading since then. Nothing has happened to that bill. If you go on the website of the National Assembly and search on the National Assembly bill tracker, you will see where that bill is. Nothing has happened, and right now as we speak, politics now trumps development. There is nothing about any bill that is not of emergency that's going to happen until maybe next administration.
Why do you think we are not the priority, or the push to have this bill fly is not there?
Well, I wouldn't say so. I would only mention the need for harmonization. That's what I underline because, like I said earlier, I thanked the various stakeholders for the roles they played. At least on 3 occasions, bills have been introduced, approved at the highest level, and it was at the desk of the Mr. President at those 3 instances that it fell through. So what we need to do now is to dig deeper and find out the reasons why they didn't say yes.
Why
on
is
those
stolen
instances.
after the first reading?
No. At the desk of the president.
At the desk of the president.
At those 3 instances, we need to find out why did they say no.
Okay.
Address those reasons why they said no. Agree on what we want to do, and then come back, because it is unheard of that a law, of 1956 is still the law we are making reference to in 21st century auditing. Now, let me just paint you a very short example from Ghana. The content of the 2018 audit bill, as it didn't go through in Nigeria, were as follows. If I am a public sector official and I happen to owe Nigerian coffers money, it is contained in that bill that the Auditor General has the power to summon me. If I am summoned and I refuse to come, the Auditor General has the powers to surcharge me. If that doesn't work, he has the powers to issue a warrant for my arrest. This is the standard across the globe. Most countries in Europe, people are more afraid of the Auditor General than any other official, because when they call you, you are good. I mean, it's either you budge or you go in for whatever it is.
So this new audit bill, according to you, would not only give the office of the Auditor General the ability to back, but also to back.
Sure. It will just give him the power to implement his recommendations, as it is the case in Ghana. In Ghana, the things I've just said, they are happening. If the Auditor General queries you, you quickly respond. It's not what we have in Nigeria. People just look at the audit queries and leave it like that, say, who is this one?
What are the other lacunas we can find in the current 1956 audit law that we are using?
We cannot exhaust all of them within the time frame.
One or two that...
we are talking of a 1956 law. I'm not even sure my late dad has been born then. But then the thing there is that we are talking of independence. So financial independence is key.
Financial autonomy.
Financial autonomy is key, because you cannot leave, an office that is that sensitive, in a position whereby they will be going, be doing work cap in hand, to implement. So if you want to limit what they can do, you just give them small amount of money and you will not release it. So it is the advocacy that their money becomes first line charge, just like you have agencies of government that are that receive statutory transfers. So whether there is money or no money, those ones, they receive whatever is it they are budgeted to receive, and they go on and implement what they need to do. The Auditor General for the Federation is oversighting more than 900 agencies, right? So if there is no money, they will only pick some offices and audit them. But if there is more money, they can do more work. And from one of our early analysis at our organization, Center for Social Justice, what we did was just a raw analysis, whereby we pulled the audit reports from 2014 to 2016, and then later we did for 2017. We kind of like pulled together resources that had been accumulated that would have come into the federal coffers, and at some point we were getting about 5-point-something trillion naira, monies that people deducted and not necessarily, I wouldn't use that word, but I would say
remittances,
misappropriated.
Okay.
Like for example, NMPC, they were reported in the audit reports that there were deductions they were doing. They were supposed to remit a certain amount of money to the CRF, but they did not. Right, and the Auditor General was querying it, and some other agencies were mentioned for perennial misnomers and all of that. So when you pull all of those monies together, is a large amount of money we are talking about here. And if we have all of that money, then we wouldn't be talking about ASU strike, for example, and other
Absolutely.
things.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for that. We'll get back to you, but Primark team hit the street and sampled the opinions of some Nigerians on how public sector corruption is affecting Nigeria's development. Let's take a listen. Voices against corruption. Let the people speak.
Hello and welcome to Primark's public feedback series on corruption, called Voices Against Corruption. And we ask, do you think lack of accountability has affected development in Nigeria?
Because of lack of transparency. Everything is done in secrecy, government bureaucracy and all that. They hide a lot of things that the masses cannot know, and so because of that lack of accountability, it makes them not to carry out the necessary assignment that they need to carry for the masses.
Most of the people ruling us are not accountable. And that is why this particular problem you have mentioned is there. If they are accountable, I want to believe that everybody will be doing what they are supposed to do naturally.
Lack of accountability has affected the development of Nigeria right from 1960 to date. If you go back from 1960, you will discover that the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability started from independence. But the problem, the worry is that lack of accountability is on the rise, is increasing year in, year out.
The country is actually in a very deep mess because our officers have not been accountable to us. I think if they've been accountable to us, the country will have moved further than where we are today. A lot of things are really bad. We don't have good roads. Our system is bad. No water, no electricity. So we can see that we have enormous problems. If we say from 1960 to date, the money has been looted by public offices is enough to get this country developed. So it's really, really affecting us, and it's going to affect us moving forward.
If there is accountability, everything is accounted for. Funds will be allocated to every sector, and each sector that is being allocated, they use it for that particular sector. There will be development. Things will move as it's supposed to be. But the problem is, there is fund allocated for this sector. Somebody somewhere is moving the funds to the wrong side.
Not being accountable is almost the genesis of all the problems we have in this country, be it insecurity, be it lack of infrastructural development, be it in discipline and moral decadence or what have you. It's just the bedrock of every anomalies we are witnessing today.
Primark's public feedback on corruption in Nigeria is produced with support from MacArthur Foundation.
There you have it, the voices of Nigerians on the street, their concerns on lack of accountability in public sector with regards to how it affects our development as a nation.
But let's get to Cobham, sir. You heard what the views and opinions of Nigerians on the street. I would like you to respond to that. And again, how does lack of public sector accountability, what does it portend for us as a country in Nigeria?
I would have preferred you saying what damage does it cost, not portend, because we have passed the stage of whatever it portends for the country.
What are the damages?
Yes, you've heard what the members of the public have said. If you have worked in the public service, you will appreciate that some of these things are done deliberately by the officers who are given those functions to perform. If you go just check how the seats are tendered, how that are procured and tendered for jobs done. If you see how there's the environment, if you ask, an auditor will ask for certain documents, how the people react to him. Imagine an auditor who is a level 8 or level 10 officer walking up to ask for a document from a director, or the director is supposed to provide such document. How would the man feel. So there are so many things that are done deliberately that ensures the environment within the system where an auditor works is not conducive. It doesn't allow the man to do. Then we talk about, my colleague talked about funding, first line charge. Do you have officers who have expertise in what they are doing? How often do you train the auditors so that they know what they are looking for to ensure that there is transparency? Because we are talking about auditing. You look at the financial, looking at the papers, compliance, and also the issue of performance. Our auditors are alive to such responsibility when there is no training, regular training and retraining. So, he mentioned it. If funds are not provided, is it not a deliberate act to ensure that that office doesn't work, or the staff or the personnel there are a little bit left underperforming? So, the public, those views which you got, the speculation of what some of them, I'm sure some of them are people who have worked in the system, they know how the system performs, and they are only saying their mind. And so, in terms of contract, you have heard reports that that contract awarded in Nigeria is the highest in terms of, and even though the amounts are so high, but the output, the performance, in terms of roads, in terms of buildings, whatever, in terms of procurement, we have not moved. So that is just.
We are not getting value for money. You mean there?
Definitely, sir.
You are not getting value for money. I know you have a lot to say, Fidelis, but we'll come back to you. I know you want to react. We'll come back to you in a short while. Let's bring in the listener out there. Please follow us on our social media platforms at Official Primorg. Primorg is once again spelled Primorg.
And remember that this program is interactive. The WhatsApp phone line to send your message to is 0902 265 6167. That is 0902 265 6167. Please send your messages as soon as possible.
So, what is your contribution to the conversation? What do you think has hindered us as a nation from taking strong action against government agencies indicted by the Auditor General's report over the years? And how can the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation be strengthened to better fight corruption? Let me ask Fidelis this straight question. The 1956 audit law that we are using now, some say it is obsolete, too weak to fight corruption. Do you also reserve that position?
The question would be, who wouldn't? I mean, it's a straightforward. It's just there on the table for everyone to see. I agree that we need a new law, and that's not a debate in any day. But one thing that we need to do really is to see what's best way to promote trust. This just goes into the last question you asked my colleague, given what the public are saying, because if we do not improve the trust or try to bridge the trust deficit between the leaders and the led, it will be difficult to govern at any level. It will be difficult to generate revenues, to even do public sector administration. So you will not be able to raise money to even do projects. The ones you've raised, you are always fighting to justify why you have to do this or do that. If at some point people keep hearing, this office has squandered money, the other office has squandered money. The last one was termites that ate the documents that the National Social Insurance Trust Fund were supposed to record about 2.something billion that they had expended. So these are the issues that citizens want to hear less and less of them. Then you can build trust, and when you have built trust, you can then govern. And you cannot do all of this without a new audit law that would oversight the expenditure of public resources.
Now that you talked about building trust, are you confident that the Public Accounts Committee would act when it comes to Auditor General's report? Recall that they are on recess. Once they resume, the issue of the termites would be brought again, do you think that the National Assembly, especially the Public Accounts Committee, would act?
And beyond acting, what else? Because they've been acting on different. They've been talking about raising issues.
Thank you for answering my question.
It's not just talking.
Because they've been talking.
Thank you for taking that from where I wanted to start, because there have been issues, right? Lots and lots of them. I mean, you can only know so much starting from when you started following the happenings in the public space. Lots and lots of these things have, come and taken place, and people have been looking forward to seeing where, the alleged culprits are tried and brought to book. Lots and lots of things. But we look and look, none of these things get to happen. And that's where, when you sample the opinions on the streets, nobody will ever agree that all the billion and zillion and quadrillion they are hearing on the radio and TV mean anything to them. It can only translate to something they can feel or touch when they walk on nice roads and have a good hospital to visit. And all of this cannot happen without the public resources working for the people. And how can that happen? When expenditures are scrutinized using the tool of a more modern audit legislation. And that can happen when, of course, the president assents to the next bill, whichever president it is, assents to the next bill that will be proposed.
We are going to come to that, but a whole lot of gamut of
next president, they are not quite optimistic
that this one will, but let's give out the numbers again, Adobe, so that people can join us. Call 0809 40072 0809 40072. Let's have your take on the issue we've raised. But let's go ahead, because I was coming to that point that I would say you are talking about what should have been done, what could have been done. But where we find ourselves is in a situation at a time that we're also planning transition program. Very soon the campaigns will take off. We are planning for a transition program. New government will come in. So let me come to Mr. Cobhams at this point, because in about 5 months, Nigerians will be electing a new set of leaders. Are you still optimistic the current administration can do something cogent about strengthening Auditor General's office? Should the strengthening of Auditor General's office be the top priority at this time?
Definitely, you must have hope. Every human being must have hope that tomorrow will be better than today. So I want to hope and believe that the government should consider the priority. But given what we have experienced in the past, that an election year is a year where things don't seem to work administratively.
Governance is forgotten?
Not that it's forgotten. They still do it, but not to the point where you think it should be. It is purely you see governance in terms of people reaching out to the populace, going to set borehole, going to do things so that that is purely electoral campaign. Audit will not convince anybody that they should vote for them. So
because they don't understand what is in it, or what?
To the government.
No, to the electorate. To the electorate.
No, for them, if you go and tell them that this audit law is to ensure that there is transparency, in an election year where that the man is campaigning and looking for how that campaign fund can come to him, it doesn't make sense to the ordinary electorate. What makes sense to the electorate is where are the campaign funds, so that we can go into the field to begin to engage the people. So even the men at the National Assembly would also be involved in the field. So there is actually a challenge, but we hope.
You don't sound optimistic.
No, you have to be. No, you have to be optimistic, but with a little bit of caution. That the fact that things have happened, you learn from the past to drive what you wish to do in the future. 5 months, I doubt
You're
it.
not Fidelis.
Yeah.
What must the citizens do? He talked about citizens and our politicians at the moment looking at campaigns, elections. Do you buy into his own idea that we may not be able to achieve anything in the remaining 5 months before the next government, our administration?
Well, this is my take of the situation. The question looks like he's going to give you an option whereby if, those against say aye and those against say aye. So whichever way you come at it, you are saying aye. I don't know if you got that, but then let me proceed. So every other, even all of our listeners who have been in the public sector for long, or even been observing the happenings in the public sector, will tell you that, just as he said, it is highly unlikely that something can happen in these 5 months. That's just the plain truth. However, you do not say never, given that there is still chance for something to be done.
Okay.
Right? So assuming we have looked at our past history and antecedents, and whenever is election year, if it's like 9 months before the election, every bill, any new bill that does not enable the administration or the party in power to score political points, that's the word, scoring political points, it will not be at the topper echelon of lists of things to do. I'm not saying it's not going to be done, but I'm saying
this has been a trend for you.
No, it's not about me.
No, from what you know.
Yeah, from what I know.
This has been a trend, and
Yes.
You don't see it changing.
Well. It is about what the leaders want to do. Then we, as citizens, what are we doing? We are here on this radio station today discussing audit. The other media houses, it is their duty also to put up programs that will sensitize people. Perhaps, if majority of Nigerians, maybe some of us tone down on tweeting about characters in the Big Brother Niger house, and start tweeting about how audit can better promote, saving money for governance. Maybe ASU strike, we can get money from public officials who have not properly accounted for monies that we are given, and then channel that money to providing better hospitals in various wards and local governments. Then the government may see, once they see that it is becoming topical, it now comes on top of what is to be done. But when we don't discuss it, we are carried away by discussing other things. Then they will not call it top priority of things to be done.
Yeah, we must put it on the top burner, front burner. All right. But let's give us in 1 minute a solution to all this, to strengthening the office of the Auditor Generals to fight corruption better in Nigeria.
In 1 minute, please.
Fellow citizens, to keep calling out on the duty bearers to perform public duty. That's one. Then advocacy for enactment of a new audit law cannot be overemphasized. It has to continue. Whenever that happens, is a win-win for everyone.
Well, in 1 minute, your solution.
Definitely, I align myself with what he has said. The bill should be top priority, and the budgeting process too. The attitude of having the budget overlapping into the next year hampers a lot of things. So that gives the Accountant General a challenge to even prepare the audit or the papers, the documents needed for the auditing in the financial year. So I think the law is important. Citizens should also take responsibility in asking questions. We should keep asking questions on the audit.
Citizens, you have heard my guests. We should keep asking questions about the audit. We really need to round up this year.
All right, it's been a robust one here, and we must together ensure that Nigeria gets better. We don't have any other country but this country called Nigeria. Please visit the news page of our website, primognews.org, That is primorgnews.org. For all the details of our reports and interviews, visit our website www.primorg.org to get all the information about Primorg.
And you can watch our videos on Primorg TV, our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to get reminders when we have a new post. We sincerely appreciate our guest, the executive editor, Forefront Magazine, Cobb Hamza. Thank you so much for being a part of today's program.
Thank you very much.
Our sincere appreciation also goes to Fidelis Onejebu, Program Manager, Public Finance Management Center for Social Justice, Nigeria. Thank you for being a part of today's program.
Thank you for having me.
Public Conscience has the support of the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, vibrant, and peaceful world. Get more information about the foundation on its website, macfound.org.
Join us again here next week for another episode of Public Conscience. And remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Official Primorg. I am Chidozie Obonnaya.
And remember that birth registration and birth certificates are both free if your child is under 18. Help stop the corruption in birth registration and do not pay for birth certificates. Also remember that you can give us information or hints about Corrupt Act through our phone 0902 265 6167 or info@primorg.org. I am Adaobi Obiabumo. Stay safe.